I just came back from my road trip to Valencia, and when I got home, 2 boxes from Universal Audio were waiting for me. So I guess it is time that we're going to upgrade this setup with the 2nd generation APOLLO X4 and APOLLO X16. So let's get going. And there they are, the X4, and behind me you see the X16 of the generation 2 of the APOLLO X range. These just came out last week and they're supposed to sound better, have new features like auto gain to automatically adjust the gain on your microphones, and they've got built-in Sonarworks, which makes calibrating your monitors a lot easier because now it's inside the interface. And if I decide to ever go to Atmos, now we're all set up for that world as well. Okay, so let's get these unboxed and then see how we're going to hook this up to not only the monitors and the outboard gear over here, but also to that lovely mini SSL that's sitting over there. First of all, Universal Audio have their packaging on point. Like, you get this, and this just feels like I'm getting a new MacBook or a new PlayStation. I'm more of an Xbox guy, but okay. I just really like that. Then we get the X16. At first, I wasn't really a fan of them going back to the silver faceplate because I thought it just looked like the old unit. I used to have the 1st generation Firewire Apollo interfaces 12 years ago or something, and they had the silver faceplate as well. Though I have to say, I really like this. More of a slick design, like this volume knob over here that almost makes me sad that I'm going to put it away underneath the mini SSL. And they've got similar knobs as on the X4 over there. We've got the same metering that we always had. And then it's time to look at the back, because this is why I wanted to upgrade to an X16, because all of the connections on the back of the mini SSL are D-subs. So now I can just grab a D-sub to D-sub, connect everything, and so you've got 16 in and outputs on D-subs over here, then you've got the monitor output, and then you've got the AES in and output. You've got the word clock for if I ever need to attach a separate clock to it or clock to another device. And then you've got the Thunderbolt ports over here, so we can daisy chain, which is really nice in my setup, and you've got power as well. We can swap the X8 for this X16. All of this outboard gear over here is currently connected to the insert points on the mini SSL. So that is over here and over here, and you can see that these cables are not really long enough. So let's first take out those D-subs. What I want to do is, because these channels on the SSL are named channels 1 through 8, I want them to be connected to outputs and inputs 1 through 8. So this is going to be line in on top over here, and that goes into over here. So it's the group output of the channel going to the line inputs of the interface. And then we've got the 2nd cable over here, and that stay here. I said stay here. Juno doesn't even listen to me, so why do I expect a mini SSL to listen to me? Okay, and that goes under here. What? Oh, that's line in 9 through 60. Oh. Huh? This doesn't make sense to me, but line ins are on this side, line outs are on this side. And then 1 through 8 is on the bottom and 9 through 16 is on top. I would have done it a bit differently, but sure. Okay, so that's 1 through 8, and then these are outputs 1 through 8, so in and out over there, okay. But now with the X16, we've got 8 more ins and outs, and I actually want to hardwire the outboard gear in the session desk directly to those inputs and outputs, so I don't have to run through the SSL anymore to just get into one of the outboard gear units. And also, I can then have 16 hardware inserts. So I can actually just run 8 SSL channels and 8 pieces of outboard gear simultaneously, which is going to make my mixing workflow just a lot more fun. Okay, so these two D subs go straight to the outboard gear in the desk. This was insert send, so that is going to be outputs, and then insert return is going to be los inputos. And that's all set and ready to go. You're not getting a Thunderbolt cable with your Apollo, so before you're super happy with your new Apollo, ready to go in your studio, but you just forgot to buy a Thunderbolt cable, maybe you want to do that first. I always buy OWC cables. I'm not getting sponsored to say that. I just think they're the best cables, and they're cheaper than the Apple ones. If you're unfamiliar with daisy chaining, as you just saw, there's 2 Thunderbolt ports on these units. So that means you can go from a Thunderbolt port on your MacBook to the Apollo, and then from the Apollo to another Apollo, which is exactly what I'm going to do later with the X4 and what I'm now going to do with the X8. I could even do X16, X8, X4. I'm not going to do that, but I could. So here is the cable that goes to my Mac. We can put that into port 1, and then the new cable over here will go into port 2 over there. And that can go in the X8. Okay, so before I'm adding the X4 to the setup, I first want to hear what the difference in quality is between the Apollo X8 and the new X16 Generation 2. So let's get that hooked up, and then we can have a listen. I've had a listen to both of these. I've switched back and forth and listened to my mixed reference playlist. I'll link it down below. If you're in need of some good mixed references, feel free to use my playlist. And I'm really sorry to do this to you, but if you want to hear what my thoughts are on the X8 versus the X16 Generation 2, then you better watch this video until the very end. Scan the QR code on the label above for info on plugins included in this package. Okay, scanning the QR code. The UAD Essentials Plus seems to have 33 included plugins, which is great. The MPEG plugin Auto-Tune you're getting, which is really nice. Fairchild 670, one of my favorites. Also a synth, the Polymax. You're getting the Pultec EQP1As, PurePlate, LA2A collection, and the Verve analog machines. Those are cool as well. So you're getting a pretty decent starter pack of plugins right out of the box. And then we have got an X4. Look at it. It's a new design. This is the Twin Mark II, so this is not even the Twin X. The Twin X is very similar to the Twin Mark II. So as you can see, the knob on the older generation is black plastic over here, and then some kind of metallic-y stuff on there. But on the new X4, it seems to be all metallic. You get new upgraded knobs on the front. These are just a little bit more sophisticated. The back is exactly the same as the X4 has always been. So 4 mic pre's, then a monitor out, and 4 line outputs. You've got ADAT in and out power, and you've got the Thunderbolt connection over there. In the front, you get 2 headphone outputs, which I really like. And then you get 2 DI inputs, which is great if you need to do synths or anything. You can just plug them straight in, and you have a stereo source ready to go inside of this unit. That is going to replace the X8 and the baby RAM, because I won't be needing a monitor controller anymore. Setting all of that up should be as easy as plugging in the Thunderbolt cable over here into the daisy chain port on the X16 down there, and then this should become the monitor controller for the ATCs and for the entire system. So let's see if it is actually that easy. Hey, it's working. Okay, it's the next day, and we're going to test and measure the monitor situation over here. I've got everything set up. The Sonarworks mic is going into the Apollo X4, and let's see what we need to do to get this all measured up and ready to go. Okay, get started. Yes, we're doing 2.0 because we only have the ATCs, no sub. Phantom power is on. Your input and output are going to the same interface. Clock source, yes. microphone signal cannot be heard through the speakers. So it's very important that we check that all of these are muted. So as you can see here, analog 1 is going to the monitor output. That is what we do not want. So I'm going to hold Alt, press one mute button, and everything is muted. I love that. So microphone signal cannot be heard through the speakers. Check. Next. Do we have another matrix or the Audient Aurea? We've got another interface. Tap a mic gently. Hey, input signal detected. The thing is with Sonarworks, it's going to basically run you through everything. So a child can do the laundry, we say in Dutch. Anybody can do it.
Please adjust the volume of your output device. My voice should sound at normal conversation volume.
We're pointing it towards the monitors. Okay, that's dangling there. Good job! Hold the microphone 1 to 2 centimeters away from the speaker's mid-range driver, okay? I hope this cable is going to make it, otherwise we've got a problem. Start measuring, I need to be there somewhere.
Stay where you are. Measurements in progress. Right speaker done.
Review dimensions. 189 centimeters. Well, not quite. 75. I did that once with my Atom A7Xs, and then this thing got stuck in the ribbon tweeter because the ribbon tweeter has a magnet. And I just measured it, and then the magnet in the ribbon tweeter just sucked this in, and the entire tweeter was busted. So maybe if you have A7Xs, be careful. Put the microphone in the indicated area. What area? There? What do you want me to do? We have 37 points to measure. Okay. It's not the easiest way to do this, not the quickest way to do this, but it better be the best. Finally! What? Okay, so we can see over here that there's a level difference and there's a delay difference. And we can see the left and the right frequency responses over here. So we've got the right with a big dip around 93. The left has a dip around that as well, but not as much. And then they both go up at 133 quite a lot. So I'm really curious how Sonarworks is going to deal with that and if they can flatten all of that out. Because in my experience, you just need a lot of mass to actually absorb all of those frequencies to flatten that out. But maybe Sonarworks can do something magical with that. And maybe it will be a blend between adding some extra absorption for that and having Sonarworks do the last bits. And we've got a dip here between 1.5K and 4K. I think that is something that Sonarworks would be really good at to fix. Okay, let's see what it does to that. We're gonna save that measurement profile. Okay, I had some figuring out to do because the Sonarworks integration is pre-launch and I am a beta member, so I had to follow some guidelines and get on a call with UAD to get it sorted. You won't have that problem because by the time the Sonarworks integration into the Apollo console releases in November, it will just be a public build. So you can just download the drivers, download the console, and everything will be working together perfectly. I just messed something up with installing the wrong version of Sonarworks, but luckily the guys over at UAD helped me and we got it all working again. So let's dive right into it. And let's see what this can do for us. Okay, so this is the Sound ID integration into the Apollo console. And over here, if you click Open Sound ID, it opens Sound ID reference. What you're seeing over here is not the measurement we just did. Because if you look at that, you can see that it's actually much closer to the opposite. So the inverse of the measurement because this is the profile that it's adding, so this is the correction that it's doing. If we look at Room EQ Wizard, for example, the measurements that I've done with that when I was setting up the studio and everything, if you want to see those videos about my setup here in the room, click on, I never know where it goes, but it'll pop up there. Then you can actually see that around 93 Hertz we've got a dip, and around 136 we've got a boost. And if we look over here, we see that here, this is the 90 line, this is the 100 line, this is about 93, 95, and there it's boosting. And then here it's in between 100 and 200, so let's say that's 135, it's dipping. So actually what's happening over here is what Sound ID is also seeing, and it's balancing it out by applying this EQ curve to the monitor output. So let's have a listen to how that actually sounds. I thought I was being really clever by looping the AES output to the AES input of the Apollo 16 to let you have a listen to what the calibration does, but I found out that the Sonarworks calibration doesn't actually work on the digital outputs. It only works on the analog outputs of the Apollos. So I can't really do that. So I'm very sorry, but I'm just going to have a listen to a couple of songs and dial in the Sonarworks to where I like it, and then tell you what I think along the way. Let's first have a listen without Sonarworks engaged. So let's do that, and you can hear it click. Because all of this calibration is running on the Apollos itself. So that gives your laptop a little bit of room to breathe, which I think I wouldn't really need in a situation like this because my Mac is powerful enough. But if I ever decide to go to Atmos in future, then running 16 outputs with Sonarworks calibration, that can be pretty heavy on your Mac. So then it's nice that the Apollo actually takes care of that, and your Mac can just run the Atmos mix, which is heavy enough already. Another thing about that Sonarworks integration that's good to know is that on the desktop interfaces like the X4 or the Twin, you can only calibrate one monitor output. And then on the rack interfaces, like the X6 and the X8 and the X8B, you can actually use the Sonarworks calibration on both of the headphone outputs. Okay, so let's have a listen to a couple of tracks and see if Sonarworks makes my ATCs sound better or if they're going to get butchered by this graph that doesn't really look too friendly. Okay, I don't have to listen for very long to notice that that does not sound great. It is way too heavy, and I don't know if I did something wrong while measuring or if Sonarworks is just trying to get everything super flat. But I have to be honest, and this would be unworkable for me. It just takes out all of the low end out of my ATCs. So let's open Sound ID and see what we can do to improve on this. Okay, so this is Sound ID and this is the Apollo. You've got the speakers over here with this calibration, and then you can do headphones as well, and you can just find whatever headphones you're using. And over here you can do like a Dolby target and a custom target, so you can dial in your own EQ if you're feeling very, very brave. And you can do translation checks, which are really cool because you can do MacBook Pro 15-inch, you can do a smartphone, car 1, 2, and 3, and it just gives you these different EQ curves based on how it would sound in different situations. This kind of reminds me of the meme controller you get with the barefoot monitors. It would have been nice though if you could have set up the function switch on the Apollo to switch between two profiles. So you've got your main profile, and then you've got like the car profile or the iPhone profile or whatever you want, and then you can really quickly switch between that. Okay, so back to Sound ID because I want to fine-tune the profile that we have, the flat target. This way, sure, it's probably going to be a flat line, but I can't work on this. We've got the dry wet knob over here, and that determines how much Sonarworks is doing. So we can actually take that down. Let's take it down to 50% first. And then you can see that it does much less cutting and boosting over there. So if we send that to the Apollo, and then let's have a listen how that sounds. yes, the low end is getting flatter, but it is also getting less, and I don't really like that. I want to be able to feel it a little bit. So let's turn it down to 30% and see what that does. Send to Apollo. Now I'm actually feeling that we're getting an improvement. There's no huge cuts in the low end. It just controls it a little bit more, because without the Sonarworks now, I feel that it gets a little bit boomy, and with the Sonarworks, it just gets a little bit more controlled. So I think 30% is the way to go for me right now. It could have been a nice feature though to have the dry wet control in the console itself, so you can actually take that down, find the sweet spot, and you don't have to do 2% less. Send to console, 2% more. Send to console. You're right, I was going to come back on the converter shootout I did earlier and telling you what I think. Now, first of all, in picking an interface, I think it's the most important thing that you pick an interface that has the features that you need. So for me, I've been an Apollo user for the past decade, maybe even longer. And it just does exactly what I need. To be completely honest, a couple of years ago at the Red Bull Studios, I was looking to upgrade the converters from the Apollo Mark II that we had over there. And I was looking into interface from Merging, from Lynx, from Apogee, Army converters. And they were all great. Some sounded better than the Apollos. On some I couldn't tell the difference, and some were just different or not that good at all. But the main thing for me why I never switched from Apollo is because every time I looked at what I needed them to do, it was always figuring out how to make it work in my workflow. And with the Apollo, I just know that it fits my workflow perfectly. And I mean, it's not perfect either. I cannot set up the head monitors on my alt output using the AES output of the X16. And another thing that bugs me is that the monitor correction you see over here is dependent on how you've got this set up. So if I now switch this to have the Apollo X4 on top, that becomes my monitor controller unit. And then you'll see that I get headphones finally and the main monitor. But now I need to run my monitors from the X4. So that's my next step. Going to run the monitors from the X4 because I want to be able to use the headphones with the calibration. I wish I had a little bit more freedom in that sense to be able to do exactly what I wanted to do. But all of the stuff with this I/O matrix that just became second nature at this point, and having the ability now to auto gain everything, use unison plugins on the mic preamps, having the ability to make vocal chains and record through my favorite plugins on the way in. Those are the exact features that get me to a similar workflow as I had on the SSL console with all the output gear over at the Atlanta studio, because now I can actually make my decisions on the way in. To go back to the question of the converter quality of the Apollos and the new generation 2. Let me be really straight and honest with you. I've worked on the Apollo 16 Mark IIs for the past 8 years. I've recorded hundreds, maybe even thousands of songs. I've mixed hundreds. On those, I've ran an entire SSL and all the output gear you can find through those converters, and never, ever have I had the moment that a musician came in, got into the room and said,
Yeah, I can really tell that your converter quality is not that great.
No. What mic are you using? How was your acoustics? What preamp are you using? What kind of compressor are you using, and how are you using your compressor? Those are the things that matter so much more. Please don't get hung up on if the converter quality is 0.0001% better than the previous generation. Maybe it is. I couldn't tell the difference. That's my honest opinion on the X8 Gen 1 versus the X16 Generation 2. I couldn't tell the difference, honestly. Bottom line, I am very, very happy with my new set of Apollos. I can't wait to get everything set up with the mini SSL, and now finally having dedicated outputs for my outboard gear over here. I will make a video on how I set all of that up. For now, this was it on my end. If you have any questions about these Apollos or anything in general, leave them down in the comments below. I'm usually very active on there and I will get back to you. If you want me to help grow this channel, please leave a like as well, and subscribing to my channel. It's going to light up now. Boo, subscribe, wow. Subscribing to my channel is much appreciated. You see that join button down below, that goes to the virtual internship, and there you'll find exclusive videos on mix breakdowns, recording walkthroughs, and there I'm also going more into the entire setup over here and how everything is connected and routed and how I am doing all of that stuff. Okay, I've now got a week full of parties with Amsterdam dance event, and then I have to pack my bag for London, and what I'm going to do there you'll see in the not the next video but the video after that. Stay tuned. Later.